Hello, Mr. Scholl. First of all, I'd just like to apologize for the quality of video. My phone microphone isn't working in the camera, so you could see my beautiful face, but you could not hear my sing-songy voice as I narrate this. So anyway, let's get on track and talk about the wonderful piece of theater that is The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. I loved this play. I thought it was very enjoyable. Really a magnum opus. I guess I can't say that because I haven't read any other Oscar Wilde plays, but it was amazing. Pretty much every line I thought was funny. I had a similar experience watching The Big Lebowski, where every scene and every line somehow is funny even without context. I don't know how you do that, but Oscar Wilde did it, and the Coen brothers did it, so that's pretty cool. It uses satire. It does a really good job of satirizing just life and culture and society at that time, and yeah, it's almost as though like the characters are speaking in mockery of themselves or of each other, and yet they don't realize it. Like they'll say something super condescending of another person, and then they'll just keep going and just agree with them as if they're both speaking down to each other, and neither one is insulted by that. And so Algernon and Jack Worthing both sort of live double lives where they will pretend to be someone else as they go from place to place. Like, for example, Jack pretends to be Earnest as he goes into town and has some fun, and Algernon pretends to be Bunbury as he goes to the country to have his fun. And I think that's sort of an example of how these people they're mocking themselves. They don't really like their lives. They know their society is sort of messed up, and so they use this double life to just have some fun on the side. And there's a contrast between town and country, as if they're two big separate things, but when it comes down to it, they're pretty similar. It's like the same things happen, it's just one has more space, or like one has a servant and one has a maid. It's weird because you'd think that they would be completely different lifestyles, but it's just a similar culture in a different place. I thought that was pretty cool, how maybe people at the time, if you lived in the country all your life, you look down on these townspeople, you maybe mock these townspeople, but when it comes down to it, they're pretty much the same as you. It also satirized marriage. One of the supplemental readings was Pride and Prejudice. I was lucky enough to be a part of the Mill Valley production of Pride and Prejudice last year, so I had some background knowledge on that. And Pride and Prejudice is amazing. It satirizes marriage, so does The Importance of Being Earnest, but they do it in two different ways. So Pride and Prejudice sort of satirizes it because people want you to marry for benefit, for advantage. Like you would marry someone who is wealthy so you could become wealthy, or you could move up in class. And Elizabeth is sort of the one that stands out because she doesn't think that's right, and that shouldn't be right. But the satire in The Importance of Being Earnest sort of comes from the extensive background checks that it takes to be in a marriage when there's already love. So it's not that people aren't getting married for love, it's that they can't get married though they are in love. And it's kind of crazy because like Gwendolyn just accepts it in The Importance of Being Earnest. She's like, I love you, but I can't marry you. I'll marry other dudes and we can still be in love, but we can't be together. And so yeah, that's just outrageous. That is pure satire. That is just funny to think that there was a time in which that was the norm, that was how society worked, but there you go. It sort of satirizes death in a way, how whenever they want to get rid of their double life and go back to just being one person again, they just say, oh, yep, he died. And it sort of like trivializes death in a way. It's sort of like, oh yeah, they're just dead now, they're gone. And I felt like that was sort of a reflection of how trivial their lives were. Like they live just for like eating crumpets and cucumber sandwiches, and they're just gluttons, and they just sit on their wealth, and their lives are pretty meaningless, and then they just die, and that's the end. So yeah, that's about it. I think I've covered most of my points. It's a wonderful play. I'm glad I chose to read it, and have a good night, Mr. Scholl.